Day 7. It was a sleepless night. Plenty of the locals have already left. Some good people from other towns drive to the area to help the residents evacuate faster. There's a massive traffic jam, but everyone expected it. This is why the evacuation started early. Ferries, trains, and buses have canceled their services to help the evacuees. They're all working on a tight schedule to make sure everyone gets out safe without any delays. Some people refuse to leave, but their neighbors eventually convince them to go. It will take 7 days to evacuate everyone, and these people will spread out to other areas of the country, not just to the nearby safe regions. Day 10. More than half of the residents have now left the red zone. After the chaos, there's now silence, and it's interrupted by the eerie sounds of the tremors. Animals are being evacuated too. Many people are now trying to save as many animals from the forest as they can find. Day 16. All 25 of the towns that were at risk have now been evacuated. The red zone is empty. But the tremors are getting stronger, as the volcano is a pressure cooker ready to explode. White smoke rises from the large opening on the mountaintop and the vents on the side. The molten rock moves toward the surface, and the pressurized gases form bubbles, just like the ones you see when you boil food. Suddenly, there are some loud booms, and then an explosion. It's loud enough to be heard thousands of miles away, and the shockwave is felt throughout Italy. Volcanic rock is thrown up into the air. A thick black mushroom cloud forms and expands into the sky. The birds abandon their nests and fly away in huge flocks. The red-hot lava is now spewing out of the volcano like a fountain. As it flows downward, it obliterates everything in its path. Then there's a volcanic landslide. Part of the cone-shaped mountain falls off, and millions of tons of soil and rock break loose from the volcano's side and tumble down. The lava spreads on the slopes, and it slowly slides down into the forest and the farmlands. The plume of ash, pumice, and other kinds of rock has risen so high into the sky that people can see it from Rome. Then the tower of debris starts falling back to Earth. First comes the ash, then chunks of rock. The ash in the atmosphere is so dense that it's hard to breathe. The lava slowly spreads across the area and pulls down all the trees. All the nearby towns are shrouded in darkness and smoke. Buildings collapse, and all around there's a mixture of heated, poisonous gas and rock moving faster than a car. Other rocks and more volcanic ash fall miles away from the volcano, hitting cars and destroying roofs. The sky is completely black as the lava keeps on coming. Slowly, all the nearby towns are submerged beneath the molten rock. Some of the lava even reaches the sea. Gigantic white steam covers the shore where it falls in, and the magma turns black. Now, a weird neon blue fire appears on the slopes of Vesuvius. This is caused by burning sulfuric gases. They're escaping at high pressure from the cracks in the volcano's surface. When they come into contact with the air, they ignite. These blue flames can reach 16 feet into the air. Now, all nearby flights are canceled, and many planes have to change course to reach their destination. Ever since the national alert, no planes have been allowed to fly over the volcano. The clouds of volcanic ash can damage jet engines and other plane components. The water supply is now contaminated by streams of volcanic ash, and it smells unbelievably bad. In just a short amount of time, all that magma has made entire towns vanish. Only the roofs of taller buildings can be seen. After the big and explosive eruption, there are some smaller and quieter ones. At this stage, nobody knows if the volcano has stopped erupting yet, and absolutely no one can go anywhere near the area. 10 years later. Most parts of the red zone are now hidden under hardened but still warm lava, including the ancient site of Pompeii. Some people have started to forget about what happened. Others have begun their new lives elsewhere, and some don't even want to think about what happened to their old homes. But several of them are counting the days until they can go back. 100 years later. You're walking in what appears to be a wasteland of volcanic ash. You suddenly realize that you're standing on top of your great-grandparents' town. Everything is now submerged under a thick carpet of solidified lava. But below it all, just about everything is still intact, completely frozen in time.
Millions of years ago, there were seas and oceans where deserts are today. What if it all comes back? Water instead of sand, where deserts used to be. Life on the planet would change completely. Sand can act like a liquid if a strong enough airflow makes it rise from below. The air reduces friction between sand particles, making more space. The particles begin to move freely, as if they're in a liquid. If a huge vent suddenly opened under the Earth's crust, blowing air from beneath, then perhaps the entire landscape would begin to sink like being in quicksand. Such monuments as the Egyptian pyramids or the Sphinx would sink under the ground. Huge cities built on sand would disappear. The Sahara Desert would resemble one bubbling cauldron. Camel caravans would simply fall down. But don't worry, the animals wouldn't get hurt. Liquid sand is filled with oxygen, so they'd be able to swim in it. But what if sand turned into water instead of just a liquid version of itself? If this happened quickly and unexpectedly, then disasters would occur on all the beaches of the world. Imagine you're sunbathing on an air mattress on a sandy beach of a seaside resort. You're wearing sunglasses, the sea waves are tickling your heels, gulls are squawking overhead, and you have iced tea in your hands. A perfect holiday. But then, you feel your mattress moving. A wave hits you. You take off your glasses and find yourself in the middle of the sea. The entire beach has turned into water. It reaches way up to the road where cars drive and houses stand. You help people who were sunbathing nearby to climb on the mattress. You swim to the new shore, head home, turn on the TV, and see this is happening all over the world. Hundreds of thousands of beaches are flooded. Water overflows city streets and houses. People are scared. Some leave their homes, while others take surfboards and ride the waves. And while part of the world is trying to cope with a global flood of sandy shores, a fifth ocean is being formed at the same time. You get on a plane and fly over the largest sandy desert on the planet. The area of the Sahara Desert is 3.5 million square miles. This is almost the area of the entire USA. Billions of tons of sand turned into water in an instant. And all this water starts to spill over. Animals living in the sand, such as jerboa, scorpions, cobras, and many others, disappear from the face of the planet. The nearest countries are devastated by the flood. The new ocean connects to the Mediterranean, Red, and Tyrrhenian seas. The water level in the world's oceans is rising so much that most island countries have to evacuate to continents. In coastal cities, people sit in cafes and enjoy life. Some are sunbathing, while others try to escape from the heat in the shade. Suddenly, the wind rises and a shadow appears on the ground. People look at it, puzzled, and it keeps growing. Everyone looks up and sees that a huge tsunami is approaching the shore. Desert countries have it even worse. They're flooded at once and turn into many small divided islands. And huge waves will hit the shores of port towns for a long time. The hottest places on the planet have become wet. Hot sands turned into almost boiling water. It quickly evaporates and forms huge rain clouds. Thanks to high humidity, the air pressure changes and strong winds begin to blow. They drive clouds all over the planet. Long rains begin all over the world, drenching everything. Water mixes with the world's oceans and cools down. The hottest places in the world are getting colder. With temperatures changing, tornadoes and hurricanes form in different parts of the world and ravage the planet. The face of the whole Earth is warping. New seas, lakes, and rivers form all over the world. Before, water comprised 70% of the planet's surface. Now, it's 90%. Fortunately, cataclysms don't last long. Even though sands cover a lot of land, they're not very thick. The depth of the ocean is hundreds of times deeper than the depth of sand in a desert. In some, the sand is only a few inches thick. Only the largest dunes may reach 150 feet in thickness. The water levels will rise drastically and will probably never return to what they used to be. But at least the weather will calm down sooner or later. But something bad is still going to happen. Every year, 2 billion tons of dust rise into the air. Most of it comes from deserts. Particles of this dust contain useful elements and bacteria. The wind carries them all over the planet. A quarter of this dust comes to rest in seas and oceans. Bacteria and nutrients feed small creatures in the ocean, such as phytoplankton or krill. These creatures, in their turn, are food for small fish and even whales. And the fish are food for predators, as well as for many land animals. So, if sands turn into water, the ocean will lose a lot of its nutrients. The good news is that it won't last long either. Nutrients and bacteria will adapt to the new conditions and will be able to evaporate with water, which condenses into rain clouds. The largest variety of the marine world lives in shallow waters not far from the coast. The desert turned into water gives ideal conditions for new life to develop. New species of animals appear that can survive in hot water. Many creatures that lived in hot sands have now adapted to marine life. Camels have learned to swim, and small reptiles can hold their breath underwater for a long time. Thanks to hot weather and shallowness, a huge amount of seaweed grows on the bottom that can withstand high temperatures. The new ocean now resembles a multicolored garden of marine plants. People are also trying to adapt. They build towns on massive wooden structures right on the water and attach them to the bottom with long chains. Fishing has become the main source of food for all humankind. Cars have become obsolete. Everyone wants boats. Famous expensive car brands now design luxury yachts and ships. Also, everyone learns to swim, and every resident of sea cities is an excellent swimmer. All the new water was fresh until it mixed with the sea and gained its saltiness. People have created special filters that turn this water fresh. Global stocks are increasing. There are almost no places left in the world where people don't have enough water. But what if our situation became stranger still, and all the sand on the planet, not only on beaches and in deserts, turned into liquid? All hourglasses in the world would accelerate because the water flows much faster than sand. Sand is also used for all types of construction works. They use it in the production of concrete and to lay a strong foundation. It would be impossible to create bricks and clay without sand. Almost all houses, not counting wooden ones, would simply fall apart. But wooden houses could just rot because of the high humidity levels. Sand is used for glass. Production of mirrors, windows, and light bulbs would be greatly reduced. World reserves of drinking water would decrease as sand is a natural filter for purification. There would be huge traffic jams on the roads because, well, there would be no roads to speak of. Imagine you're driving a car and its wheels turn into jelly. Road vehicles would be severely affected. Planes would also stop flying because sand is used in the construction of the runway. The only means of transportation left would be ships. Sand is present almost everywhere on our planet, so the water would begin to moisten and wash away the soil. The whole world would turn into a vicious marsh, and it would be very difficult to move around. The humidity levels would increase significantly, and thick fogs would appear every day. A huge number of scolopendras, salamanders, frogs, and other creatures that love humidity would take over the planet. Some insects may evolve and increase in size thanks to the new ideal conditions. And people, if they survive at all, might grow scales to better transfer moisture. The Earth would look like a planet from a sci-fi movie. But fortunately, this isn't going to ever happen. It's dark, and you can't see anything. There's slime all over. The ground is soft and moving. You try to find your way around by feeling the moving walls around you. After a while, you hear some painful screams in the distance. You call out for help, but no one responds. You're a captain of a ship, and you are just consumed by the mighty Kraken. You keep tumbling over, not knowing if you're even going in the right direction. The screams get louder and louder. It's only a matter of time before you see someone. As you make your next step, a large piece of wood swooshes past you, almost knocking you down. That piece of wood was from the ship that the Kraken had swallowed. It had also swallowed the entire crew alive, so they must be somewhere inside the beast's belly. You keep following the screams. They lead you down another path that looks like an esophagus. You grab a piece of wood and slide down the slimy insides. It's dark, so you rip out a piece of cloth from your shirt and wrap it around a large plank, setting it on fire. This makeshift torch allows you to see where you're going in proper detail. You can see the large veins pumping inside. Each vein can fit more than 3 people through it. After a while, you start seeing more debris from your ship, including the treasures you had discovered and kept in the bottom. But now, those huge piles of gold are worthless since you're out looking for your crewmates in this dark, smelly interior. You reach a point where there seems to be multiple tunnels around, each leading to a different point. You know it's impossible to climb back out from the mouth, so going deeper is the only solution. You decide to go with your gut and slide down the smallest tunnel, which is covered in slime and other liquids. You snuff out your torch and tuck it away to use it again later. You slip through and get stuck for a while. The Kraken is still swimming, but seems to be taking a break and stops. The giant veins and blood vessels slow down, and the flesh tunnel that you're crawling through becomes wider. Before you know it, you are plummeting down the large shaft until you reach a liquid pool. The second you splash in it, you start to feel the acid burning through your clothes. You're in one of the Kraken's stomachs. You take off your shirt and paddle on a plank, rowing yourself across the acidic lake. You can see more broken pieces of your ship scattered around. Out of nowhere, the Kraken springs into action and starts swimming rapidly. You don't have a choice but to hold on to the plank and keep yourself afloat without any acid going into your eyes. You shut them. Now, you're tossed further down the stomach where the digestion is happening. Over here, the acid is even stronger and melts anything that's in it. The smell is atrocious, and you can't find your way to leave. But in the distance, you see some of your crew members stranded in the middle of a small stomach island. You see some sharks still swimming around that haven't been digested yet. There's nothing you can do at the moment but try to get through and make it to your crew members. You get on another piece of wood and row yourself toward them. This time, the stomach acid is melting the wood away. Luckily, someone from your crew tosses you another plank, so you hop onto it and row your way to them. You climb ashore. Everyone is happy to see you. You try to figure out a way out, but the exits are covered in acid. More water seeps in along with plenty of marine animals. The acid levels are rising, and everyone huddles together. After a while, the Kraken swallows a large humpback whale that's thrashing around the acidic water. It's making the Kraken upset, so it starts moving, tossing everyone around. You, along with many others, land on the whale and hold on to it tight. It seems like the Kraken wants to expunge the whale out somehow. The inner walls of the stomach contract until it shrinks enough to let the whale out. You and your crew members are still holding on to the whale, but it's not easy. Finally, the Kraken spits out the whale and swims off to the bottom of the ocean. The new challenge is to swim to the surface to breathe. The whale pushes you and everyone else up. Without it, no one would have made it to the surface to catch some oxygen. You don't know where you are. Some of your crewmates grab onto some loose pieces of your ship to stay afloat. You swim to one and climb aboard. The sun is starting to set. There's nothing in sight. The crew is feeling cold and hungry. Worst of all, it's feeding time for the sharks. Everyone climbs up on their planks to stay out of the water. Before you know it, shark fins start to pop up from every corner. There's nothing to do except survive the night. The next day arrives. No one has managed to get any sleep. Everyone decides to fix all the planks together and row towards the sun. While other people debate another direction, the whole crew listens to your final word. The sun is scorching and everyone's energy is low. There's no fresh water to drink. No one can catch fish for eating. There's still the ever-looming threat of sharks and the Kraken. One of your crew members spots something in the distance, which appears to be an island. Everyone cheers and hugs each other and paddles their way there. After a few hours, you reach the island and stuff your hands in the sand. Someone is running around, while others embrace the sand and palm trees. But for some reason, something seems off. Some birds are flying around. They aren't scared of you. Everyone moves to the center of the island to discover if anyone has been here before. A small campfire sits in the middle of the island, but there are no signs of people anywhere. This island's too small to have any residents. There seems to be no sign of anyone who has ever visited it, besides the campfire. After a while, the island starts moving. Everyone climbs a tree, and water covers the island. In the distance, you see a large figure emerge from the water and turn towards you. It's a giant sea turtle. You were on the back of a giant sea turtle this whole time. It moves gracefully across the water and stops after a couple of hours. The crew members build some huts and start a fire to cook some food and sleep comfortably. You look out in the distance and at the night sky with the stars populating the horizon. You climb the highest tree to get some rest and peace. Far away, you see the kraken swimming around and getting closer to the turtle. But compared to it, the kraken is only the size of a shoe compared to a person. The next day, you tread around and discover the rest of the Turtleback Island. Some unique animals you've never seen before are living here. Some of the most exotic birds are flying around, and the animals don't seem to take you as a threat. You reach the top of the mountain covered with trees and vines to get a good look at the island. You have a panoramic view of everything and discover that there's a huge hole in the ground right below you. And you see what appears to be digging tools left by other explorers. You gather your crew and rush to the hole. You have to make your way through vines and climb over some challenging terrain to reach there. The main question is, where does this hole go if the bottom of this island is a giant turtle shell? You step on the site and see many abandoned tools and plans. You pick up a map and see that there is an X marking for treasures beyond anyone's imagination. You gather your crew. Everyone picks up some of the equipment. Another scary question is, why did they abandon this equipment? You study the plans. They state all the steps except the final one, which no one seems to have figured out. After a while, you descend the hole and make your way towards the bottom. But what you discover is even more shocking than what you expected. And you'll have to find out what it is next time.
Ah, such a beautiful day, isn't it? It is, until it all goes boom. That's gravity disappearing for just a second. Let's recap the events from the smallest to the largest scale. We'll start with you. Yes, you. If gravity is lost for a single second, unfortunately, you'll most probably be no more. Thing is, gravity doesn't only keep you anchored to the Earth, it also holds all the atoms inside your body together. If this force completely disappears, even for such a short period of time, chances are you'll simply fly apart. Blech! If you don't, then you'll start floating above the ground. Not high though, because 1 second isn't enough to fly too far away. If the gravity stops working only for you, then you'll levitate a little over an inch upwards and then fall back without consequences. Your thoughts will be occupied by the lack of oxygen in your lungs though, because with no gravity, your blood will stop pumping. Now, if it affects the surrounding objects as well, you'll be lucky to be away from home because everything around you will float too. And after a second, all your cutlery, your bed, your wardrobes, etc. will smash down on the floor. Luckily, buildings and trees will probably stay put because they're strongly rooted in the ground by their own means. Still, the picture won't be pretty, and it'll be up to you to clean that mess. Ah, shucks. By the way, you surely know our planet is spinning and hurtling through space at mind-blowing speeds. So there's a chance that if gravity does turn off for a second, everything on the Earth's surface will succumb to inertia and fly horizontally at several hundred miles per hour. That will be an even bigger mess, but only if everything retains its mass. If it doesn't, then it should be no problem. Maybe. Yet, the real trouble starts if the gravity disappears for the entire planet. The force of gravity is equal to the pressure from inside the Earth, and if the outside pressure is gone, nothing will stop the molten innards of our planet from bursting onto the surface. An immense earthquake will begin all over the Earth as the tectonic plates move upwards. Also, all the world's volcanoes will probably erupt too, since the lava will be pumped up with the pressure. If such a mega eruption occurs, no life will survive except the sturdiest of creatures, such as tardigrades. The clouds of volcanic ash will spread across the whole planet, blocking the sun. At first, the temperatures will rise due to the greenhouse effect, but then the planet will cool down and a new ice age will begin. Optimistic. This will all happen even if the gravity returns after a second, because the motion will already start and it'll take a more powerful force to calm it down. Up above, the atmosphere of the Earth will simply evaporate. The air we breathe is also kept around the planet by the force of gravity, so if it pops, we'll have nothing to fill our lungs with. When the gravity comes back in a second, the atmosphere will eventually gather itself back, but the damage will have been done already. It will take a lot of time for the air to return to its original composition. Meanwhile, in space, things are even worse. As far as we know, everything in the universe is held together by gravity, including other planets, stars, galaxies, and even galactic clusters. On a cosmic scale, our planet is but a fleck of dust, having a really tiny mass. The Sun is incredibly huge by comparison. It's 109 times bigger in diameter and over 300,000 times more massive, which is why its gravity is able to keep so many planets in its orbit. And now that enormous force is just poof. Even though it's only a second, the immense pressure of gas from inside our star makes it explode, sending a heat wave far greater than anything we've ever experienced in history. Now, the Sun will most likely survive because a second is too short a period of time for the star to inflate too much. But the same can't be said about Mercury, Venus, Earth, and probably Mars too. Mercury, being the closest, will probably be simply incinerated. The temperature on Venus is already extremely high, but it will spike even more, scorching its surface. Good thing it's not inhabited. And bad thing that Earth is. The heat wave from the Sun will probably obliterate our atmosphere first and then do the same with the surface. So, from the looks of it, nothing will be able to survive again. Oh well. But that's not even close to the end. Our Sun is one of the smallest stars in the universe, the biggest known one being about 1,500 times larger and more massive. If such a giant loses its gravity for a second, everything around it for millions upon millions of miles will simply disintegrate, including other smaller stars. But the objects with the most mass and, as a result, the most gravity are neutron stars and black holes. Both of them are extremely small for their mass, like me. But the pressure inside them is so immense that the loss of gravity for even a fraction of a second might mean a tremendous space explosion. And with a whole second, it's basically warranted. Nobody knows for sure, though, how black holes operate, so there's a chance that something else will happen with them, or nothing at all. Finally, on the largest scale, if gravity decides to take a second-long break, surprisingly, nothing much will happen. Planets will mostly retain their orbits, although they might change a little bit, and if we talk about galaxies or galactic clusters, those won't even notice anything. The biggest changes will be local because, as I said earlier, stars will explode, and the larger the blast, the more it will affect the neighboring celestial bodies. For example, if a star large enough sends a wave of energy in the direction of our solar system, it might send asteroids flying toward us from the Oort cloud. Those space rocks fall onto the Moon and even Earth quite regularly, but they're mostly rather small. The ones sent to us by a star explosion, however, might be a lot bigger and more dangerous. We will be protected by other planets, but still, the chances of collision will be a lot higher than normal. But who cares really? We'll be toast by then. Obviously, this is all just speculation. Nobody knows for sure what'll happen if gravity suddenly decides to stop working even for a second. What we know, though, is that it can't happen without numerous laws of physics being broken all at once. Scientists are pretty certain such a turning off is impossible altogether. For this to happen, everything in the universe will have to lose its mass first. Mass is the main reason things have gravity, so the heavier the object, the more gravity it has. Even you have it. It's just so small that you can't feel it. But if you were several million times more massive, you'd probably be the center of everyone's attention. Hey, I'd use that opportunity. You've spent your entire life researching microorganisms. Last few years, you've been creating a device that can shrink you in size. And finally, it's ready. At first, you want to shrink yourself to the size of a thumb so you can probably see some microbes with the unaided eye. And then, after more experimenting, you hope to shrink to the size of a bacterium yourself. To make the journey safe, you put on a special suit, similar to a spacesuit. It's equipped with a life support system. You direct a beam from the device at yourself. The beam must change your mass and volume. To return to the previous state, you must stand on a round platform the size of a hockey puck. You put it near your feet so you can easily climb on it when you get smaller. Press the button and activate the machine. Ooh, something's wrong. The device gives an error and you shrink not to the size of a thumb, but 1,000 times smaller, to the size of a bacterium. Oops. You become so small that the fleece of the carpet on which you were standing seems to be the size of huge trees. Now don't panic. You need to find the puck, stand on it, and you'll return to your normal size. It was right next to your feet, just an inch away. Wait, but what's 1 inch now, when 1,000 people your size can fit on the tip of a human hair? You decide to climb the fleece to see where the puck is. You can't see the lab ceiling. The room is out of focus because of its huge size. You're surrounded by thousands of bacteria. They're so different in sizes and colors, but you can identify 3 main forms. Round bacteria that looks like spheres are cocci. They can merge with each other and increase in size. Cylindrical, capsule-shaped bacteria, looking like sausages or bananas, these are bacilli. And spirobacteria are called spirilla. At the end of their body, they have a hair-like cilium. Bacteria are essential for our planet. They help to produce oxygen and absorb carbon dioxide. They purify the water and air, digest the food inside our stomachs, and improve our immune system. They're crawling on the ground all over the carpet. You start climbing the fleece. On your way, you meet cocci that look like huge potatoes, spirilla similar to spaghetti. After a few hours, you finally reach the top of the carpet. For you, it was a long time, but in reality, just a couple of minutes have passed. The smaller you are, the slower the time's going. Do you remember how difficult it is to swat a fly? That's because it sees your movements in slow motion. So, looking around, you see an endless forest of fleece. In the distance, you can see the silhouette of a big mountain with a flat top. It seems bigger than Everest to you. Great, now you need to get there alive. Suddenly, a huge bacterium attacks you from below. It's several bacilli joined together. They look like a bunch of sausages. To escape, you jump down. You weigh so little that falling from any height is safe. You run through the dense forest. You notice that almost all bacteria are going at you. Most of them eat organic material, such as glucose or carbohydrates. And right now, hey, lucky you, you're the biggest source of carbs. Smaller microbes stick to your legs, arms, and face. You shake them off and fall. Several bacilli joined together are approaching, but then a round object with spikes the size of a football crashes into them. You see a lot of these balls and realize they're viruses. Microorganisms that can't live apart from bacteria. To reproduce, they must infect a living being. The viruses have entered the bacterium. Other bacteria that chased you are attacked too. You see a gigantic bacterium that looks like a passenger Boeing without wings. It's a type of cocci, several big balls attached to each other and about to eat you. You see a small prickly football getting inside its body. The bacterium shivers and freezes. After a moment, a hole appears in it, and hundreds of thousands of viruses fly out. They're everywhere and looking for a new host. Prickly balls fly towards you at high speed. You grab a piece of lint and swing it like a baseball bat. You fight off the viruses one by one. Your bat breaks and you run away. It seems that you're safe now. You're entering a huge field. There's nothing here but bacteria. You realize this is a small spot on the carpet that you accidentally burned a few months ago. There's 1 billion microbes here, and they're multiplying at a tremendous rate. One bacterium increases in size and splits into 2. After a few minutes, these 2 bacteria also grow and divide. Now there are 4 of them. The colony of bacteria grows exponentially. With such rapid reproduction, a single bacterium can create offspring weighing about a ton in 24 hours. After 5 days, the bacteria will be able to fill all the seas and oceans. Fortunately, the speed with which they divide is equal to the speed of their destruction. Dryness, a ray of light, high temperature, humidity, all these phenomena control the population of microbes. Under ideal conditions, the bacteria could take over the whole world. You make your way through a field of microorganisms. Large bacteria consume small ones. They multiply and are being destroyed. It's a boiling sea of life. You feel your foot is stuck. You stepped on something sticky. Right underneath, a large spherical bacterium crawls out of the ground. It's connected with other bacteria and hasn't gotten a certain form. It looks like formless pulsing biomass. The thing is clinging to your body, wrapping you. It feels like you're being absorbed by warm jelly. The bacterium compresses your chest. It's hard to breathe and move. At this moment, something that looks like a metal screw smashes into the bacterium. A large diamond bursts in next. After that, several thin, smooth legs, looking like curved needles, get inside too. All these details unite and transform into a strange creature inside the microbe. A diamond is attached to one end of the screw, and the needle legs cling down. Several dozen of these break into the jelly's body. They connect together and form an army of robots. All these creatures break out from a small hole in the bacterium and tear the microbe to pieces. You escape and find yourself in chaos. The little robot with a diamond for a head is called a bacteriophage. Despite their appearance, they're created by nature, not artificially. The goal of bacteriophages is to attack and destroy bacteria from within. That's how they reproduce. These creatures are all around us everywhere and control the population of microorganisms. When bacteria multiply inside the human body, they leave waste products of decay. This waste is harmful to the body, so it has to fight. Sometimes doctors use bacteriophages, so they help to get rid of bad microbes. They don't attack anything but bacteria. And now you see hundreds of billions of bacteriophages destroying billions of bacteria. The walking diamonds jump on the bacterium, plunging their heads into it, and release the genetic code, separate parts that assemble in new bacteriophages. You continue on your way and take a few diamonds with you just in case. The road is long, but after a few weeks, you finally manage to reach the puck. In the normal flow of time, it's been an hour. You're exhausted, and there's still a whipping to the top. The puck is so high that you can't see the top of it. You can't sleep because you might wake up inside some microbe. There are still a lot of bacteriophages around, but you don't want to take any chances. A deafening crash shakes the air. It's like an airplane turbine is running right next to your ear. You're looking up. A creature the size of a city lands on the carpet from the sky. It flaps its wings and makes this noise. The wings create a hurricane. You grab the fleece to keep yourself from being blown away. The creature smells bad. One of its legs resembles a large skyscraper. You realize it's a fly. Here's your chance to get to the puck. Big orange eyes divided into thousands of segments look like two planets. You climb on the tip of the fly's leg. The insect takes off and you hold on tight. The carpet is moving further and further away. From up here, you can see the top of the puck. It's so wide that you can't see the round edge. You let go of the fly and fall. In the air, you run into millions of bacteria. Finally, you land on the solid puck surface. The device activates, and you return to your normal size. You are, indeed, one lucky bug. Ah, you're flying first class to Paris. Vacation, sightseeing, it's all good. Then the pilot comes on. Attention passengers, this is your captain speaking. The ground below us is jello. We cannot land. Everyone on the plane panics. Is there no wiggle room? Down there, apparently it's all wiggle room. The seatbelt sign turns on, but no one seems to care. People topple over each other. The flight attendants try to calm everyone down, but they get pushed around and ignored. There's food flying everywhere. People are frantically dumping out their carry-ons to find who knows. You look out the window and see buildings falling down like dominoes. The roads begin to look like spaghetti, and the sea is being washed inland. The mountains out in the distance are also caving in, causing massive amounts of landslides. It really does look like Jell-O. Your phone starts going crazy with breaking news alerts. This phenomenon is happening all over the world, but it's not a giant earthquake or anything. The Earth's crust has lost its strength and has become soft, birthday cake soft. The Earth has many layers stacked on top of each other. The inner core, the outer core, the mantle, and the crust. That's the top layer that we all walk around on. When the mantle moves a little too much, the crust starts to shift. That's sort of what an earthquake is. The crust has about 7 massive pieces and a bunch of smaller ones. Now they've all split up into millions of pieces. It's like the whole world's one giant waterbed. The Eiffel Tower, the pyramids of Egypt, the Great Wall of China, skyscrapers, bridges, you name it, they're all in trouble. Years later, you and the rest of humanity have adapted to the Earth's new wobbly surface. Your daily routine now consists of wearing special shoes to help you keep your balance wherever you go. Say goodbye to high heels and sneakers. These boots have a special gadget that glues you to the ground, kind of like a gecko scaling a wall. Sleeping in constant motion is the new normal, but it's not like sleeping on a waterbed. It's way worse. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night for a glass of milk and the ground's moving around like crazy. You'd fall down 20 times before making it to the kitchen. Going downstairs would be more of a sliding situation. Houses built with concrete don't exist anymore. You have a sort of giant bubble as your house now. With the help of special technology, the ground inside the bubble can be stabilized so it won't shake all the time. The foundation underneath your house sways with the wiggly crust so that it doesn't collapse. People rely heavily on drone technology to deliver food, supplies, or the latest cell phone. In fact, the whole sky is regularly filled with drones going from place to place. Sports gets totally revamped. Basketball players are now equipped with helmets and protective body gear, so they don't hurt themselves when they fall, which is a lie. You try dribbling on a soft surface. It's borderline impossible. One sport that survives is ice hockey. Actually, all ice sports, speed skating, figure skating, as long as the ice is thick enough, it doesn't matter what's going on underneath. Pretty much everyone relies on these bubbles to do anything or get anywhere. Think of it like a giant hamster ball floating on a shallow lake. Humans have adapted and don't get motion sickness anymore. The new economy is still built on trade and transportation, but now it's mainly done with ships. No more big trucks on the road, no more road. Helicopters are super popular, but landing them can be kinda hairy. All around the world, cities are floating and drifting around. That used to take millions of years. Now, it just takes a few. Imagine living in Melbourne, Australia, but your city's only a few months from reaching South America. It's like a giant cruise ship. All over the planet, millions of animals used to migrate huge distances to find water during the dry season. That's all over. Marine life and our flying friends have been relatively unaffected. Since the ground's always moving, it's impossible for huge herds of animals to stick together when they make their way across land. They're trying to adapt, but it's tough. Mountain goats evolved to be in the mountains. Now the whole world's just one flat, soft mess. After putting on your boots, you make your way to visit some friends down at the park. All inside a large bubble, of course. When the ground collapsed all those years ago, many factories went haywire and released a bunch of chemicals into the atmosphere. Yeah, I think I want to stay in my bubble. You get into your little hamster ball of a car and drive off. The ground is bumpy and gooey at the same time, but you make it eventually. Have you ever tried eating or drinking on a rocking ship? Sailors got used to it ages ago, but for most of us, it'd be a nightmare. But nowadays, everyone's a pro, handling hot soup without spilling a drop. After lunch, your friends decide to go out and explore the lands outside the giant bubble. At first, you refuse, but somehow you find yourself strapped into your personal bubble car, heading for the exit. You sneak past security, find a place to hide the cars, and get out. You and your friends look ridiculous in those specialized boots and gas masks. Still, you wouldn't want to inhale all those toxic fumes. You make your way to where a large major city once stood. It looks like a scene from a sci-fi movie. Buildings piled on top of each other, with nature growing all around. The roads that once existed have split into their original ingredients. You're essentially walking on broken bricks, concrete, and asphalt. Statues are half buried in the ground. Way out in front of you is an old abandoned airport. You have to watch your every step. The ground ripples under your feet. No one's been here for years. As you make your way to the core of the city, huge blocks of concrete break off a falling building. You try your best to jump out of the way, but the ground's so shaky, you barely make it. You and your friends finally find your way to the downtown area. That's when you notice a lot of water around. When the buildings collapsed, it destroyed all the water and drainage systems. All the water for homes, businesses, factories, and hundreds of nearby farms all ended up here. You and your friends scale a building with your gecko boots and reach the top. It looks like the lost city of Atlantis. The buildings look like ancient ruins from a forgotten civilization. One of your friends is getting nervous. Maybe it's time to go back to the bubble city. But you think it's better to just keep moving forward. You find a piece of driftwood and make a sort of improvised boat. You all hop on board and paddle through the city. Under the surface is a whole new ecosystem of underwater plants and animals. And not too far ahead, you spot a shipwreck that's half submerged. One of your friends gets the idea of heading over there to explore it. The moment you step onto it, the water starts shaking. The ground under the ship is so fragile that any tiny change in pressure makes the ship sink deeper. You hop back on the boat and start to paddle back where you came. But the land under the water is extremely shaky, and the collapsed buildings begin to move around. It's like kayaking down a wild river, except it's also raining concrete. Once you make it back to the bubble cars, you and your friends decide it's time to head back to the giant bubble. But as you start to move, you notice that everything looks completely different. The ground's shifted so much, you're lost. Everything around you looks the same, like you're stuck in a giant maze. You drive around for ages. Is the giant bubble anywhere close? Impossible to tell. Out of nowhere, you hear a loud rumbling noise above you. You look up and see a helicopter soaring through the air. It drops down a rope ladder, and everyone climbs on. You were lucky this time. If Einstein was born in the 1500s, his hair would definitely be slicker and probably parted in the middle. We'd seen him with a puffy chest and a neutral expression, and most importantly, he would wear these funny aristocratic shoes with delicate lace. Now here's a crazy thought. Let's say Beethoven was an adult in the early 2000s. I'm thinking he would look like a member of the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. Definitely no crazy hair, since he would be rocking a buzz cut. Honestly, I think I love this version of him. Now, if The Scream by Edward Munch was an early Renaissance painting, this is what we would see. A man in a laced-up long-sleeve vest with a pouch on his belt, to carry water and essentials, of course. Picture an old Bilbo Baggins, if you will. And what if Selena Gomez had been born in the 1920s? Now I'm thinking she'd be pictured wearing a beautiful polka dot dress with a short hairdo and a cloche hat. Would Brad Pitt also be considered one of the most beautiful men alive back in ancient Egypt? I'd say absolutely. These pastel tunics are a great fit for him. Oh, and we saw him in Troy. He sure can sport sandals. Oh, and who's that? It's Spider-Man, but all the way back in the Victorian era. He still has his red mask, but even superheroes had to be formal. That's why he's wearing a vest with precious-looking gold buttons. And not to mention, this Spider-Man has a cape. Those long tailored capes men used to wear. And that's Doctor Strange. I have to say, he seems to fit perfectly into the Victorian period. He's a little bit fancier here. His cape got an upgrade, and it's embroidered with golden threads and some brooches. Jump to the future. AI generated what celebrities would look like in 40 years from now. So this is Harry Styles. I'd say a mixture of an aged Jim Carrey with Daniel Craig, maybe. And what about Billie Eilish? With natural gray hair, she looks like Tilda Swinton in Narnia. Gorgeous, if you ask me.
The ocean is turning red hot. You try to get closer for a better look, but you start feeling the air getting hotter and hotter, like reaching into an oven. And the sand is so hot that your rubber slippers start melting. The ocean's somehow turned into steamy, hot, gooey lava. You start running inland and see a frenzy of people running wild. See, in reality, lava is made of molten rocks from below the Earth's surface. Deep inside our planet, like the distance between New York and Philadelphia deep, the underground heat from the core melts rocks the same way the sun melts ice cream. When these rocks melt, their temperatures can reach around 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. But don't worry, that only happens really deep under the ground, and only in some specific areas, mostly around the Atlantic Ocean. And it only pops out of the ground when there's so much pressure that it flows up to the surface as a gooey orange super hot liquid called lava that usually erupts through a volcano's neck. But somehow, the entire ocean is made of lava now. And although from a really far away distance, it looks pretty cool to look at, it's really dangerous. First of all, say goodbye to the beautiful blue waves and the ocean currents. Unlike water, lava is thicker, closer to creamy peanut butter in texture, so the wind can't move it around like it used to. But that also means that nothing can sink or swim in it. So even if some ocean creatures could withstand the super high temperatures of lava, they won't be able to live inside of it. They'll either be submerged or float on the surface instead, depending on their density. So, all our marine friends and other creatures that used to call the ocean home will need to find another body of water to live in if they want to survive. Actually, the only animals on this planet that could possibly survive the heat of lava would be the tardigrades. These cute microscopic creatures can survive in any extreme environment on this planet. From frozen icy glaciers to hot and fiery volcanoes. They can even survive in outer space under the cosmic rays. You run away from the beach along with everyone else nearby. The atmosphere is getting thicker and it's not easy to see around you. You think to yourself, I should have stayed home. But home isn't exactly safe either. The heat radiating from all the lava alone would be intolerable for miles. So no more houses by the sea and beach resorts. You're going to want to make sure you live as far away from the ocean as possible. Most of the coastal cities would become instantly uninhabitable, especially areas touching the ocean with more than one side. Places like Florida, California, and Central America would become mostly unbearable to live in. And that's not to mention island life. Most islands would be so hot that no animal or plant could survive. 97% of the planet was made up of ocean water, and it now all turned to lava. No place on Earth can hold snow anymore, as the planet would look like a glowing orange lava ball. Temperatures would rise so much that the furthest place from the shores and even the highest peaks will still feel like the hottest day in a desert. As you keep running away from the ocean, you realize that maybe you're dreaming, but you look at your skin and see so much redness. Even if you run for miles, the heat will still catch up to you. All the offshore oil rigs and ships in the middle of the oceans will face plenty of problems too. Their metallic composition would simply glow red and melt instantly when in contact with hot lava. And even if it doesn't melt, you better hope nobody happens to be on it. But in any event like that, they would have evacuated everyone. Meanwhile, at the North and South Poles, where the planet is at its coldest, all the ice that was covering the ocean is instantly melting in contact with the lava. It would then cool down and solidify into rocky black landmasses called igneous rocks that are often glassy in texture. The moment the hot lava cools down, huge clouds of acidic steam and gases get released into the air, covering the sky. Scientists call those lays, which is a combination of the words lava and haze. Kinda like when you exit the shower and all the heat comes in contact with the cold outside air, creating a haze, except this one would cover the whole North and South poles, and it would be super toxic. It sometimes even contains tiny glass particles that are extremely hazardous. And this laze can travel around the world with strong enough wind and cover almost the entire northern hemisphere. It could also cover the southern part of New Zealand, Argentina, South Africa, and Australia. Flying an airplane through this gas wouldn't be the best idea. The heat alone emitted from the lava would be enough to cause major damage to the exterior and affect the airplane's hardware. It's a good thing you found your trusty oxygen container. The air is barely breathable at this point. You make your way to your car and drive away as fast as you can. But even your car's taken some damage. You drive out to the countryside, where the atmosphere hasn't been affected by the lava yet. But even all the way out here, the temperature is changing. The river you used to see on your weekly hikes is drying up. The plants around you are losing their green lush. The animals around have migrated to a different place. Rivers flowing into the ocean would simply create mounds of glassy igneous rocks upon contact, permanently creating natural dams. The rest of the water inland, like in ponds and lakes, would eventually evaporate over time. With the rise in temperatures and no rainfall, it would be the end of water on the planet as we know it. The huge mass of ocean water plays a major role in creating clouds and rainfall. Without water in the atmosphere, the sun's heat would add to the lavas. The world would be a huge barren wasteland. The nights would be hot and the days even hotter.
Hop on the bright side of life together with our brand new tees, hoodies, and more. Click the link to pick your choice.
Still, lava cools down eventually in contact with the cool air. So soon enough, the surface would start forming a thin layer of black crust that would gradually thicken over the years. The thicker the lava, the longer it takes to completely cool down on the inside. It would still be super hot though, but at least if you touch it, you won't be directly touching the burning lava. That's actually how many islands were formed, like the Hawaiian Islands, for example. They're fully formed by lava erupting from below the ocean that dried over hundreds of thousands of years. It accumulated layers over layers of solidified lava from below the ocean until it rose above the surface, forming islands and even mountains. As we speak, a new landmass in Hawaii is being formed by an active volcano. Scientists expect it to be a new fully formed island in about 10,000 years. So now, the view that used to be the blue ocean turned into steamy glowing orange slime that will in turn quickly transform into a solid black wasteland. But don't think you can easily walk over that ocean. It could take hundreds of years for it to fully cool down and turn into solid rock. Until then, walking on that dried lava crust would be similar to walking on a frozen lake, except that in this case, one misstep would cause you to fall into boiling hot lava instead of ice-cold water. Some regions would even take thousands of years to fully solidify. The Mariana Trench, the deepest region of the ocean, is about a whopping 43,000 feet deep. It would actually take at least 5,000 years for that much lava to completely cool down. There are many planets out there that are so-called lava planets. A recently discovered planet, K2-141b, has magma oceans, supersonic winds up to 3,000 miles per hour, and even rocky rains. That's right, the planet is so hot that it vaporizes rocks and rains them back down. Keep in mind that this planet is much closer to the sun than our planet is. Maybe their oceans once turned into lava overnight.
You are waiting for your garlic bread in the oven. While looking up at the stars through your kitchen window, you ask yourself, could you send garlic bread to space? And more importantly, could you still eat it if it came back? Some mighty important questions. Usually, when it comes to garlic bread, there are only two things people care about. Do we want cheese on it, And oh yeah, eating it. That mouth-watering garlicky taste, combined with the soft warm bread. Okay, focus. How are we going to send the bread to space? Given that NASA's first space shuttle cost roughly $49 billion, I don't think they'll allow us to borrow a rocket ship for the day, since they may have, more important things to do. I know, it's hard to believe that some people don't take garlic bread as seriously as the rest of us. Don't worry though, all we need is a balloon. Not the kind of balloon we're used to being around at things like parties, where you're surrounded by pizza, burgers and bread buns, hot dogs and bread buns, and cake. I think bread might have too strong of a hold on me. Anyway, the kind of balloon we need is a weather balloon. A weather balloon is explicitly designed to reach high altitudes of up to 24 miles. It carries instruments beyond our atmosphere to send information on temperature, humidity, wind speed, and atmospheric pressure back to us. A French meteorologist, this guy, first started experimenting with them in 1896, and his work led to the discovery of the stratosphere. I wonder if he'd been proud of these balloons now operating as an extraterrestrial taxi service for our garlic bread. Maybe not, but I'm sure he'd be delighted knowing that hundreds of people worldwide today release these balloons for their own experiments every 12 hours. Most standard organizations believe that space officially starts at the completely arbitrated Kármán line, over 62 miles above us. Sending the bread into orbit would require a speed of tens of thousands of miles an hour. Without our rocket ship, which conventionally travels at a speed of 17,000 miles per hour, we won't be able to get the bread that high or to travel at that speed. Okay, no, you can still keep the rocket. I'm happy with my amazing weather balloon, which, by the way, will still get us a third of the way to space, bringing us to the area known as the edge of space. Given that the atmosphere up there is so thin, about 1% of the pressure at ground level, it's really not that bad of a substitute for actual space for this test. I was never comfortable with being over 62 miles away from my dinner anyway, so this works much better for my food abandonment issues. Oh, my ears! I can already hear you at your computer screaming, "What is this guy talking about?" I've seen videos of things like pizza being sent to actual space before, using a similar method. Why should we settle for the edge of space? Well, many cameras operating in those videos to document the object's journey use a fisheye lens. This lens exaggerates the Earth's curve compared to what it looks like at those heights, giving off the illusion that the camera's closer to space than it is. Glad we settled that. Unlike if I were to ask you which is better, pizza or garlic bread. Moving swiftly along, thank you. Now that we've got our weather balloon, to which we've reluctantly attached our garlic bread, the moment for takeoff has arrived. We launch the garlic bread to the sky and wipe the tears from our cheeks as we watch it disappear beyond the clouds. In comparison to a rocket, the pace of our balloon may as well be that of a tortoise, and it will travel at a speed of over 1,000 feet per minute. So, a good way to distract ourselves from the sadness of our bread's departure is by asking ourselves what the garlic bread's in store for during its journey. Well, in 2 hours, our weather balloon can rise above the clouds higher than the paths of jet planes, passing through the ozone layer in the stratosphere and reaching altitudes of 22 miles or higher. The balloon will endure temperatures as cold as minus 90 degrees centigrade, meaning we'd better have a microwave on hand should it make its way back to us. The balloon will expand as it ascends, from 6.5 feet up to 26 feet, because air pressure decreases as the balloon climbs higher in the atmosphere. What happens next would be a truly satisfying experience were my food not being put at risk as a result. Our weather balloon pops. And just like that, our garlic bread will begin the descent from the skies. Wind conditions dictate how far from the launch site the bread will land, but we can expect it to turn up no more than 75 miles away. As is the case for experiments with weather balloons, a parachute is attached to the cargo, which will help ensure the bread's safe return and a reunion with its best friend, my stomach. Some say it's a one-sided friendship. Even though it's this stomach of mine that's currently making animal noises from starvation. It's actual animals who now pose a threat as potential predators of snatching our dinner. Engineers have designed packaging for exercises like this, equipped with GPS and a servo. This packaging will close shut approximately 3,280 feet above the ground. It will protect the garlic bread from unwanted landing spots and the various jaws of the animal kingdom, dramatically increasing the likelihood of being able to eat the garlic bread if we can relocate it. In all actuality, weather balloons used for experiments like this are doing more damage to wildlife and nature than vice versa. Marine animals like turtles often mistake the remains of weather balloons in the water for jellyfish and eat them, thinking that they've just got themselves an easy meal. This is damaging for these animals, given the components of these weather balloons contain rubber and battery acid. Arguments have been put forth that weather balloon testing is ultimately another form of littering. If this video inspires you to try and send some food to space using balloons, keep this in mind. So, the hunt is now on, not for any wild animals, but ourselves. What's that saying though? Fail to prepare. Prepare to go without that fantastic piece of garlic bread that you've just launched into the edge of space, which you're now on your way to reclaim? Or is it just preparing to fail? It doesn't matter, as suggested by the parachute and protective packaging. We're doing neither. To ensure we could find the bread once it landed, we attach radio trackers to the balloon before launching it. These send a signal with a GPS position to the ground, which is then put on a map for us to chase, giving us a good idea of where the garlic bread will be found. Man, I love technology. And just like that, the moment has arrived. We've found our garlic bread intact. And after some moments of passionate hugging and loving strokes, I'm ready to take a bite. So, was the wait worth it? How's it taste? And can you eat it? Yes, you can. But the taste? Not that great, actually. And despite mentioning it earlier, I forgot to bring my microwave. The bread's been frozen from the frightening temperatures experienced on its journey. And I actually mean frozen. The bread itself has an icy middle. But before we can even discover this, we'll notice that when we go to rip a piece of the bread off, it doesn't tear as normal. Instead, it snaps off, as if we've just broken a piece off a twig. We can even hear the clicking noise. My warm, soft bread is no more. You'd be better off keeping this for dessert in the event you run out of frozen ice cream. On second thought, let's just throw it in the trash. Nonetheless, it's pretty cool that we were able to send this garlic bread to the edge of space and still end up eating it, right? Before I pass out from starvation, I'm going to the store to buy some more, which I definitely won't be sending to space. Why don't you let us know in the comments if there's any food you'd like to send to space for seasoning before eating? Okay, what if pressing only one key could change your life forever and make it much easier? Well, if we were in Minecraft, everything would be possible. Too hard to live? Too many tasks, deadline, school classes are tedious, and you just can't go on like this? Change your life mode to somewhat less challenging. Just press escape. Adjust your life difficulty choosing peaceful, easy, normal, or even hard for those who like it tough. If your teacher is as hostile as a green and white pixelated creeper, choose peaceful mode. Monsters don't spawn there. Or just get yourself a cat. Creepers are terrified when they see them. Even if your pet looks a bit boxish. One more cool piece of news, if your life is in peaceful mode now, you don't even need to eat, which could save you a ton of money. As for appearances, no more worries about pimples. Now that you're pixelated, nobody's ever going to notice them. You look the same every day. Your haircut, even if you hate it and can't wait for your hair to grow, never changes unless you change the skins. You can't grow or lose some pounds. Your body proportions are much different too. In our world, the head-to-body ratio is about 1:7, and in Minecraft, it's more as if everyone had a baby body with a huge head and smaller torso. You wouldn't have fingers, so if you had Minecraft body in real life, you wouldn't be good at fine motor skills. I guess no Minecraft surgery, huh? No matter what kind of biome you live in, you don't need some super cold-resistant clothes or nice shoes. Life without changes means that you don't age the way we normally do. No more birthdays anymore. The cake you find in the game is not for candles or making wishes. It can only help you if you're starving. A day-night cycle is somewhat different now, with 100 Minecraft days equaling 33 standard hours. So, life expectancy should change too. The average lifespan in the USA is 78 years, or about 683,000 hours. So the average lifespan, according to Minecraft, would jump up to 5,700 years. Hey, and you can also respawn. Ready to live forever? Food isn't that different from what we have in real life, even in terms of calories. A whole cake will replenish your energy so much more than a plain beetroot. Carbs. There would be some exceptions too. A golden apple gives extra health in Minecraft. So sad Golden Delicious from Walmart are only delicious in real life. You can starve in Minecraft in 2 game days, though it takes a bit longer in real life. Yeah, going with no food is a real challenge, but a human actually can do that. Water, on the other hand, is pretty essential in our world, but doesn't do much to Minecraft people when they drink it. Today's agriculture uses some fertilizers to speed up plant growing. But if we had that bone meal Minecraft people feed their plants with, we'd have an abundance of any fruit or vegetables. Life would be quite boring though. You wake up today and you mine. You wake up the next day, you craft. The retail industry could never compete with skillful people, who actually don't need it, being able to create various objects from scratch. Anyway, you don't need that much. You can do almost anything with a mere pickaxe, upgrading it to a diamond one. All those hardware stores full of handy items would go bust in a real world with a pickaxe replacing everything else. You'd also have to be a bit more hard-working though. If you want to have a nap, there's no way you could do that in the Minecraft world. Here, you only sleep at night or if there's bad weather outside. Sleep is essential not to be caught by monsters that appear as soon as the night falls. And you gotta be sure there are no monsters nearby before you go to bed anyway. You can only sleep in your bed though. Even if you want to spread on a nice meadow in the shadow, you won't just fall asleep. Same with school classes. No matter how boring they are, it's just impossible to doze off. If you're used to watching pop science TV shows, well, that's something that would probably be almost unchanged. Discovery Channel would show not only various biomes and square animals, but other worlds too, like the Nether and the Overworld. Anyway, you wouldn't spend that much time indoors. Most activities in Minecraft are performed outdoors, so you'd have to go outside really often. Traveling is fun in Minecraft world. Want to visit the Nether? No, not the Netherlands. It's a trip to the underworld. No need to buy tickets, go through customs, spend hours in a tiny airplane seat. You only want some lava and a bit of water. Pour one over the other and you get obsidian. As soon as you create at least 8 blocks of the stuff, build a portal with them, set it on fire, and voila! Welcome to the Nether. If you travel a lot, you can casually grab your bed with you and assemble it wherever you want. Nice move to avoid pricey hotels, which are missing in the Nether anyway. It's not just a fun trip though. There are a bunch of ingredients you may need for potions. No fancy souvenirs either. Rather, some useful stuff you mine from exotic Nether blocks. Despite their moniker, locals called zombie pigmen are quite friendly and never attack unless it's you who started a fight. Lava can help you to travel, be a kind of trash bin, and keep intruders away. In Minecraft world, you can be sure unexpected guests won't bother you. They'll just fall into boiling lava. End of story. You can also install a tripwire hook just behind your front door to activate piston-based traps for unwanted visitors. Once your guest triggers the tripwire, the pistons will remove the flooring and send the visitor into the void. If you're going to the seaside, take your front door with you. It'll help you explore the ocean deep. If you fall into water, all you need to breathe freely is place a door above you. Nobody could ever hold their breath for more than 24 minutes in our real life, but in Minecraft, you can stay underwater almost forever, or just as long as you want. Transportation system is much cooler now. You can still use all the means of transport you're used to, but having a ride in a cart can be both fun and fast. Just build the rails wherever you want and forget about traffic jams. Physics are another big change. They give you lots of superpowers not accessible in the real world. You can jump higher, climb any mountain easier, and run faster as if the whole gravity stuff was a joke to you. You can make a vertical row of blocks, and even if you smash the lowest block, the one above it will hang in the air. It doesn't mean you can't fall down from a height. You can. But it's safe if you just spill some water from a bucket right before the impact. Not only can you perform all of that, but you can also easily chop a massive trunk in just a few moves. No tools necessary, by the way, just your bare hands. And not even a scratch left on them afterwards. You don't feel pain in this world. Don't worry, the top branches of the tree you just fell won't hurt you either, since they'll be hung in the air. Deforestation in Minecraft looks insane. Can you imagine a forest made up of floating trees? No squirrel could ever climb any trunk in such a forest. Walking around here, you're likely to come across wild animals, such as bears and wolves. You can domesticate wolves and almost convert them into dogs, and bears are not that dangerous for you. Just trap them inside a fence. It looks flimsy, but it's Minecraft world, so it's absolutely safe.
You've finally done it! You've created a simulator that allows you to copy yourself into the apps on your phone to learn faster. You plug your phone in, open Google, and put on a helmet with goggles to get a 360-degree view. After hooking them up, you call your sister to activate the machine. She's not answering you, so you head to her bedroom where you see her doing a TikTok dance challenge. You tease her for it and pester her to activate the machine downstairs. She follows you while still using TikTok. She gets upset and, without you looking, changes the home page on your phone to TikTok. She then activates the machine. You're in the simulation, but something's wrong. You're going through a virtual wormhole. You see all kinds of apps circling you until you land flat on your face on a dark surface. You're scared. Your heart is thumping. You look around and see yourself in a room with a screen in front of you. It asks for your username. You shout all kinds of words, asking to let you out, but a red light blinks every time you do so. Every word you say is picked up by the screen, which then displays it as your username, while asking you to accept it to proceed. You say accept, and the wall opens. Your username is, "Let me out!" You exit and enter a futuristic city glittered with purple and blue lights and tall towers with screens showing TikTok videos non-stop. The tallest tower shows the most trending videos today.
We'd like to continue helping you learn and giving you useful skill improvement tips. Got a thirst for knowledge? We've prepared 4 masterclasses on creating a 2D character animation from scratch, 10 hours of video lessons, practical tasks using professional software, and additional materials that you can use with your own projects.
While the other towers show other popular videos, you follow the road in front of you. It leads you into a crowd in the middle of a virtual Times Square. Everyone has a floating bubble above them with their username and bio written there. It also shows how many followers they have. Most of these people have just a handful of followers. They look like their profile pictures. Everyone is staring at you, since you're the only one who looks not like an avatar, but like a real human. You see 2 people standing opposite each other without moving. You see the bubbles above each of them change. They are now following each other. Suddenly, everyone stops and stares at the girl as she becomes verified. A blue tick appears in her bubble, and she vanishes. You run up to the one who has just followed her and try to get some information. You're the only one talking out loud, while everyone else is communicating through direct messages in their inboxes. You realize that you have to stand still and wait for someone to accept your DM. The person you're talking to receives your message and blocks it. You try to initiate another dialogue, but the person freezes and then walks away. You realize some people are looking at you in a peculiar way. They start following you. They're everywhere. You start walking fast and disappear into a sea of people where they can't find you. After a while, you dip into an alley and find an underground cafe. You enter and see a bunch of people sitting around doing nothing. You try to talk to some of them, but they don't answer. Even weirder, they don't have faces. None of them have followers. They don't respond to anything. And if you try to communicate with them, they just spaz out some advertisements. You look at the screen in the room. It shows your face. TikTok is after you. You hear a knock on the door, and dozens of people rush in. They're the internal security of TikTok, and they're after you. You exit through another room. Now you're inside a building where many of these bots are living. They're behind you and getting closer. You reach a dead end with a window in front of you. You turn around and see the security running straight at you. You have no choice but to jump out of the window. You get a running start and sprint through the glass. You land on the roof of a neighboring building. Every tower is now displaying your username and profile pic as wanted. You have no idea why they're after you. You make your way to another alley and hide in a dark corner. It seems you've lost them. You check your settings to see why you're the most wanted man on TikTok. It shows that you're an invalid user. The app thinks you're a glitch that's going to destroy the very fabric of TikTok. You know for a fact that it's just the cybersecurity of TikTok working to catch any bugs or attacks. You open your settings, but you can't do anything since they blocked you. You open Search and type in your sister's name. It turns out she's verified with a blue tick, which will be difficult to track. You head back out and try to search for her. You hear some people walking around and quickly leave the alleyway. You get back to the crowd. You can't act hysterically anymore, or you'll draw attention to yourself. You reach Hashtag Avenue, where all the trending videos are. So far, no one has noticed you. The most popular hashtags are at the top. It's quite a walk to get there. You browse through most of them, but can't find your sister. Then you remember that she was dancing. So you check the hashtag dance and try to locate her. You find out that the video she was doing earlier is one of the most popular videos. You finally find her, but the security stops you and chases you along Hashtag Avenue. You randomly appear in various trending videos. You reach a dead end and the security catches you. They escort you to a room where they try to get information out of you. They think you're a bot, but you keep telling them that you invented the machine to copy yourself into TikTok virtually. They're not buying it. Eventually, they try to extract you, but it's not working. They try to figure out what to do, but they don't let you leave. While they're transporting you to another facility, you manage to slip out of their sight and sneak off to search for your sister. This time, you have to be on high alert. TikTok is searching for you. Users have seen you in hashtags, so they're also on the lookout. Out of nowhere, large cameras pop out. They're trying to spot you. Any slip up, and you could be stuck in TikTok for good. You make one last attempt to get to your sister. You find a hat and a jacket to disguise yourself. Now it's impossible for you to interact with anyone, since they can detect your activity. But you have to take this chance for her to get you out. Eventually, you go back to Hashtag Avenue and head to your sister. You find some of the most popular TikTokers chilling together. Your sister is among them. There's a lot of security, so you keep it low. After a while, you slowly approach her and take her aside. You activate the chat option and ask her to head downstairs to the basement and unplug you from the system. But before you can finish the last few words, the security guards rush over to you and start chasing you. But this time, all cameras are on you, and there's no place to go. You surrender yourself to the security, and they take you to a locked room you can't escape from. You sit there worried. You're bouncing your knees and rubbing your palms together. You have no idea if your sister has received the full message or not. Hours pass, and no word from outside. You may have blown it. But suddenly, you get a notification from your sister. You try to type, but nothing is working. You start feeling funny. Everything around is shaking. The walls start glitching, and you see the real world. You get pulled into a wormhole, and you wake up in your lab. You're breathing heavily, trying to piece the recent events together. You feel like you've been in TikTok for half a day, but apparently, it was less than half an hour. Your vision is clear, and the first thing you see is your sister filming you with her phone. She's grinning from ear to ear, not knowing what you've actually gone through.
The stage is set. You're in the spotlight and everyone is looking at you. The piano's glossy texture shines brightly in the light. You lay your fingers on the keys and start playing. Since you have 20 fingers on each hand, you can hit multiple notes and make the sound richer. Each piano chord can have extra octaves and additional notes now with 40 fingers on the piano. After you finish, everyone stands up and claps for you. The sound of clapping is so loud since the palms are huge to fit 20 fingers on each hand. Now you're in a boat in the middle of a lake, ready to go for a swim. Your friend pushes you in and races you to the shore. Since you both have 20 fingers and toes on each limb, it's easy to swim and paddle. They act like natural rudders. You beat him and make it to shore. After that, you swim back to the boat, paddling with your hands and feet. After swimming, you go for a hike and notice a nice wall to scale. You get your gear ready and place each large palm on a nice fitting rock. Your grip is tight and you hang on to many different rocks that aren't the typical size of a 10-fingered rock. You manage to climb to the top and see the breathtaking view of the countryside. An iron suit and a confident smile. Yup, you're ready to nail that interview. You walk into the building like you own it and wait for someone to escort you to the CEO's office. Everyone notices your confidence and smart look. You're called in for your interview. You unleash your disarming smile and pop your suit up. You enter the room and extend it for a sturdy handshake. With 20 fingers, you release a pressurized grip that leaves the CEO impressed and eager to know more about you. You leave the building gleaming with a winner's attitude, and it's not long before they call you back for another interview. Okay, you've got this. 20 grocery bags in the trunk of your car and one trip. The road is long and has lots of curves and hills. You stretch your fingers and crack your knuckles. You plan out the weight distribution so you can have it evenly divided on each hand. With 20 fingers, you grip different bags and hold 10 on each hand. It's heavy, but hey, think of it as a leg and shoulder workout. You take them out of your trunk and make it quickly across the plain all the way to your house. Success! In one trip, you managed to get all the bags except one. Oh wait, never mind. You put the bag inside another bag before you left. But you do need to go back to your car and close the trunk. After a long day at work, you need to meet up with a friend you haven't seen in a long time, and you've been working way too hard today. On the way, you see a nail salon. You hop in for a quick manicure. But with 20 fingers on each hand, it's like doing a treatment for two people. Time is ticking, and you only have one hand done. Your friend calls you and tells you that she's waiting for you at the coffee shop. On to your next hand. After a while, you finish and rush to meet your friend. You're late, but at least you look good. You're attending a new tech launch with dozens of people showcasing all the new products. Many of the phones are slightly larger than phones suited for 10 fingers and two-handed people. The phones are large enough to be considered mini tablets. You pick up a sample phone and click away. Since you've got 4 thumbs, typing on the keyboard is smooth and easy. The screen is long enough to be supported by the rest of your fingers on each hand. You move over to the computers and see something interesting that catches your eye. A laptop with a wide keyboard for your fingers to type effortlessly. You open a file and type away. You're surprised at how easy it is to write a quick document. Too bad you have to wait until it's officially launched so that you can get your hands on one of these bad boys. You're at the gym warming up and getting ready for the next exercise. You enter a boxing ring and practice sparring with a boxing bag. Since you have 20 fingers on each hand, each fist you lay on it is stronger and louder than with a regular 10-finger fist. After each punch, you stretch your body and continue sparring. You move on to other exercises to get ready for the big day. You're in the forest practicing your bow and arrow aim. You line up 2 cans side by side, and another 2 cans side by side. You take your bow and extend it backwards with 10 fingers on each hand. You place 2 arrows neatly and let loose. You strike both cans with ease. Now, let's up the ante by adding 4 cans next to each other. You turn your bow sideways and retract the arrows until there's enough pressure to release. You pull back and let the arrows fly off. Another success! You knock out 4 cans without breaking a sweat. If you have 20 fingers on each hand, then you'll need at least 7 or 8 bullseye targets next to each other. The bows will be long, but keeping a good aim won't be so easy. After much concentration, you release the arrows and hit all of them right in the middle. Having 50 fingers on each hand will alter the way you look and walk. Your hands will be heavy, so you'll need a powerful set of arms to keep balance and support your fingers. Everything will be large, including your phone and laptop. A guitar will be designed to accommodate the number of fingers that can play around the fretboard. If a regular guitar has 6 strings on the neck, then these monster guitars can have an easy 30 to 40. The music won't be limited to human design and can achieve so much more. Every musical instrument can be designed to suit the current physical conditions, like having 50 fingers on each hand, like a trumpet, piano, harp, and saxophone. A 3-piece band will sound like an orchestra, and an orchestra will sound like, well, 5 orchestras. You're chilling at home playing some video games with your friend. Each control is the size of a coffee table. A hand that can support 50 fingers on each hand is no joke, so a controller is supported by a little stand pinned to the ground. There are so many buttons and pad controls that it's easy to get lost just by looking at it. You're playing a game of soccer while controlling each player in the game individually. With such power to move and coordinate 100 fingers in total, your brain is larger than average, and your multitasking skills are on point. In the end, you beat him. And after a rematch, he beats you. In the third game, you both hit a stalemate. You prepare a high five and slap his 50-finger palm with yours, producing sound waves that reach your neighbors across the street. A lot of fingers on each hand means that tangible and ergonomic things have to be a lot bigger than average. Going to a jewelry shop is a headache since you have to find the right ring that fits any of the 50 fingers on each hand. Producing any glove is a multi-billion-dollar industry, since each glove costs so much to make. Drawing is also a challenge, since holding a regular-sized pen isn't easy to simply draw something. Each pen and stationery equipment are 10 times bigger than what we have today, and also cost a lot more to make than regular-sized pens. Glasses of water are longer or fatter, so that you can properly grip them. The hand is a lot bigger, and the fingers go around the palm and resemble a sunflower. If you're hot, you can fan yourself with your hand instead of a regular fan. It'll be easier to scoop up some sand if you're building a sandcastle at the beach. With so much more space in your hand, you can make sand balls and create a mega-sized castle super fast. And if you're playing a game of snowballs, then get ready to have cannonballs instead of normal-sized snowballs. Oh, that gets smart! Check this out! There's a giant tornado heading towards you, and it's so fast. These twisters can move at crazy speeds of more than 250 miles per hour. Plus, they can carve a pathway 50 miles long and a mile wide. Sometimes you can see them coming clearly, while in some cases, low-hanging clouds or rain can hide them, so they sneak up on you and you don't even see them. And in most cases, a tornado can develop so fast that no one can even warn you in time if it's already too close. And now, this insane storm is really close. Maybe you have a couple of minutes to get somewhere safe. Do you have a basement? Go hide. Or maybe, I know this is a crazy idea, but what do you think about going inside a tornado to check what it would be like? Now, some tornadoes appear as rope-like swirls, while others have wide clouds in the shape of a funnel. And here's the second one, right before you. Look at these whirling winds born in a thunderstorm. They extend down from it to the ground. Many times, hail joins the party too. The U.S. itself has something like 1,000 tornadoes per year. Texas holds the record with about 120 tornadoes per year, a record not to be proud of. But you'll generally see most twisters in Tornado Alley, which is a stretch of land in the midwestern part of the U.S. They develop when warm, moist air coming from Mexico meets cool, dry air from Canada. These two clash and turn into a powerful storm that at some point can spawn tornadoes. And you'll see most tornadoes there between April and June, though lately some have come even in December. They can range from a regular dust storm to an incredibly powerful force that can carry away cars, large trees, and even houses. But this is a unique chance. You've never been this close, right? Plus, it's a gigantic one. You don't often get to see such a big one. Okay, ready then? It's getting closer. You feel the wind getting stronger while tossing dirt and debris in your face. You close your eyes and whoosh! You're inside, and it's crazy. Vicious winds are hurling and spinning you around. They're lifting you up at the same time. Feeling dizzy? Feeling like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz? Now may be a good time to check what's really happening to you, while inside swirling with winds and… Oh wait! Is that your neighbor's motorcycle spinning together with you? Hope it'll stay that far away. Now, let's take a moment to catch up. Being in the middle of a raging tornado is actually something you might survive. But I won't lie to you, it won't be easy. The first thing you'd sense would likely be the temperature changes. Inside this crazy twister, it can be 36 degrees colder than outside of it. That's because the center of the tornado funnel spins all the time. All that funneling makes the inside of the vortex way colder, and it makes the air way thinner than you used to. The air would be 20% less dense than, for example, what you would find at high altitudes. Now, I hope you're not planning to stay there for too long. Disclaimer here, the atmospheric pressure inside this swirling vortex is so low that your lungs won't be able to extract enough oxygen. Now, to give you a perspective of all this, breathing inside a tornado is like trying to get some air at an altitude of 26,000 feet. That's a pro level, similar to climbing Everest. So yeah, you'll need some help just to be able to take a regular breath. In short, you'll probably pass out after only a couple of minutes. But don't worry, I brought you this special mask, so breathing is not a problem anymore. Hey, did you notice how smooth the airflow from the inside is? Some storm watchers ended up inside a tornado. Later, they said it all looked so chaotic with all those raging clouds and wind swirling around. But from the inside, the air is surprisingly smooth. But that doesn't mean you'll get a peaceful ride because of it. And it's not a solo party in that thing. The neighbor's motorcycle is not the only thing you'll see there. Wood, bricks, glass, maybe even cars, cows, motorhomes, bricks, roofs, and other big objects. You'd be pretty lucky if nothing crashes into you in all that chaos. With all that debris that's swirling at, for instance, 310 miles per hour, you can hardly avoid it. But let's just say a miracle happens and you got through it. Now you're really dizzy, and you're just wondering when all of this is going to be over and if you're even going to be able to come out of this gigantic tornado. Well, the tornado will eventually slow down. It happens because cool air enters the twister. Just because things are settling down, it doesn't mean you can relax. Well, your stomach can, since all that crazy swirling is done, but the tornado will drop you from whatever height you're on when it stops. If you're somewhere in the countryside, there might be some soft bale of hay to break your fall. Oh wait, we're talking about a twister that's probably more than 45,000 feet tall, so that won't work. I hope you brought your parachute, because now would be a good time to pop it. Nope. Hey, don't worry. I'm all about happy endings, so I'll help you out. Here you go. And now you're slowing down, enjoying the view, if you even see anything around you from all that dizziness. How come there are clear sunlit skies from your left, you may wonder? It's not unusual. Tornadoes often form near the edge of a thunderstorm. It's like a border between two different worlds. And it wasn't even windy. Plus the air was very still before it hit, right? Well, that's common too. Okay, I think you know this kind of scenario is impossible in reality. So it would be best to find a safe spot quickly if a tornado is close by. Use your underground shelter first. And if you don't have one, your basement could be the next best choice. Prepare ahead of time with a battery-operated TV or radio, together with fresh batteries, or a device with internet to be able to hear the latest updates on the tornado. Include some non-perishable food, water, and other essentials prepared too. As it turns out, some people really were picked up by tornadoes, and they managed to go through it. A tornado actually dropped them a few hundred feet away without a scratch. Hey, I'd say that's a whole lot of bother just to save some bucks on Uber. But you can't have a guarantee you'll be safe or where you'll end up. It would be incredibly hard to get out of one of those big and fierce ones, though, like supercells. They fall into the category of the strongest type of storms, mostly thunderstorms. And imagine falling into waterspouts. Those could be fine though, at least the beginning, because they're weak and they form over warm water. So they could be like a part of your spa day, at least until they move inland and turn into a real tornado. Now, dust devils wouldn't be that pleasant. They're not that big, but we're talking about columns of air that rotate at large speeds. And you can easily see them because of all that dirt and dust they pick up, which is why you need glasses for that. Whoops, wait, I forgot that, so I can't help you this time. But if it makes you feel any better, they're not associated with thunderstorms. Don't know why that would make anyone feel better when I think about it. But if you're willing to jump into a fire tornado, I'll find you a special suit that will keep you safe while spinning through smoke, gas, and flames. I promise. Columns here are narrow and they rise vertically into the air, similar to a dust devil. Of course, the heat is crazy, and as updrafts are becoming stronger, and if there's enough dry fuel, a fire whirl is turning into a real fire tornado that extends from the ground up to the cloud, moving incredibly fast. Okay, let's stop now. I'm pretty dizzy. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like